Welcome to REM Reward, the podcast that explores the secrets of sleep and psychology. I'm your host, Ryan, and in each episode, we'll dive deep into the world of sleep and other topics such as mental well-being and personal growth. If you want to unlock your full potential and receive the rewards that come with understanding the power of sleep, you're in the right place. To discover more tips and insights on improving your sleep and overall well-being, visit our website and explore our other episodes at remreward.org. Today we are joined by Sarah Elizabeth of Sarah Elizabeth Design, an expert in creating spaces that blend beauty with restorative function. With years of experience designing bedrooms that promote deep, healing sleep, Sarah brings a unique perspective on how environments shape our rest. In this episode, we'll explore everything from optimal bedroom layouts and color psychology to lighting tricks and budget-friendly upgrades, plus how to balance modern tech with sleep hygiene. Whether you're redesigning your space or just looking for small tweaks, this conversation is packed with actionable advice to transform your bedroom into a sleep sanctuary. Let's dive in. All right, here we go. For my first question, what's on your checklist for designing a bedroom that promotes restfulness and healthy sleep?
Sure, absolutely. So I design all rooms with the same intentions. I really get to know the client, their wants and needs for a space, knowing that I know that everybody is so busy with their lives and most people work very long hours. So a bedroom, when I design a bedroom, it could, they can take different, aesthetically look differently, but always with the idea that it's a place to rest and relax.
Hmm.
Certainly not a place to work,
Yeah.
or, spend a lot of time on your phone, things like that.
Yeah, I completely
Yeah.
agree. I mean, having that bedroom just for sleep is definitely really important.
Yes. And I also think something really important that is also relates to every design they do, whether a playroom or a whole house living room, um, which is really important when designing a bedroom, is creating zones.
Mm,
And zones are different areas where you do different tasks.
right.
So the bedroom and also the zones create harmony and cohesion, and it's one less thing for our brains to think about, like, where is blah blah blah, where is my jacket that I want to,
Right.
my blazer that I want. um and so in your bedroom, if you are lucky enough to have a primary closet, or a bit, a place to hang your clothes, then you're going to want to place your dresser pretty close to your closet. So then that's your dressing zone. Um,
Mm,
and then the other zones would be like your bed and nightstands. That's your sleeping zone
yeah.
and your relaxing zone. And then if you have room, we usually do an accent or a reading chair in one of the corners, and that is your either your reading zone or meditation zone.
Yeah. That's
So,
that's amazing. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think it would definitely help a lot of people. I guess going off that, I think you've definitely like pretty in depthly answered this question, but how can the layout of a bedroom influence, I guess, the quality of sleep? And are there any specific ways to arrange furniture or objects to enhance, relaxation or comfort?
yes, absolutely. So, um, the first thing, the largest piece of furniture, your bed, it's really important where your bed is located. These could seem like, 101, like maybe everybody knows, but maybe not, that your bed, so your headboard should be on a solid wall.
Mm,
Sometimes, every once in a while, you don't have a choice and it has to be under windows, but that's really not great.
yeah.
You really want, again, on that solid wall. if you also have the choice, not on a exterior wall, an interior wall is better. Even for temperature, you can get more cold. I'm thinking of all those pre-wars. But most importantly is on a solid wall without windows
Mhm.
or, without a door next to it. And that is so important. I've gone into clients' homes and said, like, oh, your bed, it's just facing um just not a great way. Like we really need to turn it. Um, and then there's a lot of other things, and that's also for feng shui. Your bed should be not facing exactly the door, but it should be placed. It's called the commanding position, which means you should be able to see the door.
Got it.
And I think that's also from like us as animals, like safety, right?
Yeah.
It's like safety, like always, like who you have to see who's coming in
Yeah.
your door.
Like an evolutionary thing for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So much of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I really appreciate all those tips. I think talking about, what is something you should do, what are some common design mistakes that might disrupt sleep and, without people realizing it and something you shouldn't do, I guess, for design wise.
Right. Okay. So lighting is number one. If you have bright lights around you until you go to sleep, I don't see how you're going to go to sleep. What I was taught in design school a very long time ago, that stuck with me is that every room should have a dimmer, so a dimmer switch. It's so easy, and I think they're like $20. So easy to install on just your regular light switch. And again, Home Depot, but every room should have this, especially your bedroom. So as it gets darker, so later in the day, you should be dimming it, and at night you should be working and kind of wrapping up. And it also feels really nice, creates a nice ambiance to have, to be working or, finishing your day in low light.
Yeah.
So dimmer is an easy one. For a bedroom, we usually do some sort of decorative ceiling light, a chandelier. So that's on a dimmer. And then, if we can, we have sconces flanking the bed, so above the bed and headboard on either side. If you don't, if you don't want to mark up your walls and spend on an electrician, there are plug-in sconces that are really beautiful with kind of an unassuming kind of plug that
Yeah.
you can plug in, or so sconces. If you don't want a sconce or don't have room or a brick wall behind you, then just table lamps
Got
or
it.
reading lamp. And so you really want to have that mood lighting. So nothing, of course, nothing jarring, but at the end of the day, it should be just around you, like that ambient
Yeah.
light, for, again, for reading.
Yeah, that
And
makes a lot of sense. Kind of letting your brain know it's, it's time to cool down, time to, rest a little now as the light.
yeah, and it's very like accessible if, it does, you don't have to spend a lot. And now with so many great plug-in sconce options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That makes a lot of sense. Jumping off that, I was curious on how, there's a lot of studies out there talking about how colors can affect our mood and mindset. So I was curious in your experience, what colors do you recommend to kind of create like a peaceful, sleep-friendly bedroom, or are there any to avoid in general?
Yeah, so absolutely to both of those. So color does so much. We did a little boys' room in the city, and they said one of their friends came over that's a psychologist after we designed it, and I painted it in like a Danube blue, like a kind of dark blue, but not a jeans blue, a little bit lighter. And
Okay.
the psychologist said that I had picked the very best color, that
Mm.
even though it's dark and saturated, a dark blue, that it's has calming effect. So So I wanted to tell that story because we do a lot of light colored bedrooms, a lot of sand tones and monochrome. So think the walls a light, maybe a light cream color, and then the bedding is maybe a taupe color. So really a calming, kind of almost spa-like color palette.
Right.
So that it seems like innate, like you would think, like that's a relaxing, soothing bedroom. But then you think of this boys' room, you can also use a dark color if that's what you want. If you like moody colors, that's also going to relax you. It's not going to, if you choose the right kind of deep blue or deep green, you're not going to feel energized like you would want in a workout room. You
Hmm.
are going to still feel kind of, you're going to feel cocooned and kind of enveloped in this color. And that can also be very relaxing. So, while we do all of these kind of sand colored calming, my bedroom is all sand colors. That's what I wanted. Um, you can also achieve it, and especially probably, for these younger couples that I work with, sometimes they really do want to do, a deep blue, and that absolutely works as well
Wow, that's super
for
interesting.
color. So to stay away from, so think of colors to stay away from, think of McDonald's, red and orange.
Okay.
Um, those colors, they have those colors in their cafes
Yeah.
because those make you move quickly.
Interesting. Wow. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Get in and out. So
Um,
that if that helps,
yeah,
let
for
you know.
sure. That's super good to know. And I think all the listeners will take that in and kind of, internalize that and hopefully use that information well. I just wanted to jump to a different question. I know you were talking about windows previously, when we were laying out the room and not to have the bed by the window. So, I guess that kind of talks about how window treatments are really important as well. For people maybe who have, a lot of light around them, maybe people who live in the city or just for some certain reason, what are the best options to block light and, kind of keep a space quiet?
Yeah, so always blackout shades. What we do is a two window treatment approach that can be considered more luxurious. It's window treatments are like the accessory in your outfit or the, icing on the cake.
Right.
But the two treatments, the first one is just a shade. It can even be a roller shade, or it can be a light filtering just shade that you can, use a cord to go up and down or your hand. Um, and then, but what you want, if you're doing two shades, you need those blackout curtains.
Okay.
And so they have a blackout lining and so the two shades that creates even more of a light barrier, like that's even more helpful. But if you just want one or the other, just get something that if you're doing store bought, it's just going to say blackout shades. And then what I've seen on the market and used in city projects is they have, they're called light channels. And they actually, because unfortunately, when you do use a window shade that goes up and down, you still, I don't know, Ryan, if you've seen you see the light coming in on
Yeah,
the
I know what you mean.
side.
You're kind of like peering in. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's enough to keep me up. And so the drapery panels, the long drapes that you can get, those can cover they're called light gaps, or you can try to find something that some companies sell. They're like channels that the shade goes in and it just covers. So definitely both of those. If you have any kind of sensitivity to light,
Hmm.
so like in every project.
Got it. So it
Yeah.
sounds like something that really blocks out light really effectively. And As
Yeah, yeah, that's why like the two treatments works. It's also window treatments. I do tell clients they're very costly.
got it.
There's no way around it, even for my own home, because you're paying for fabric or labor. But that said, you can go to West Elm and get a lovely pair of, blackout drapery,
Hmm.
and it's just, they're gonna say it, and it's just two, at least two layers
Right.
to block out that light.
Okay, good to know. And we've talked a lot about, colors and lighting. I was curious on materials. Are there, specific materials you recommend for, bedding, curtains, or rugs that maybe can impact someone's sleep quality, how rested they feel, or, just, their emotions or anything in general like that?
Yes, absolutely. So I think everything, I mean, in a perfect world, everything in every room, should be a natural fiber. So
Okay.
cotton, linen, silk, wool. So if you have those four, so again, cotton, linen, we have that in all of this in clothing as well, silk. So it's about using natural fibers. So
Okay.
in your bedding, and then also in your area rug. Um, those are great for regulating temperature, resisting moisture, and then they feel very luxurious. So, and again, they don't have to be $1 million. I would just say a takeaway is just really stay away from synthetic
Got it.
sheets. Sometimes it's hard to even know when you're like, you just kind of even nice Pottery Barn, you click order and then you maybe they show up and they're synthetic and it just
Mhm.
really doesn't feel good.
Got it.
I don't think that should be around your body all night, just from like a health. So a good rule of thumb is also because that's going to maybe off gas all of these synthetic materials. If something doesn't smell good, it's probably not good for you.
Got it.
So some of these, I see that a lot with cheap area rugs. Um, I mean, it used to happen a lot more. I think people are, everything's getting a little bit better.
Mhm. Right.
A little bit if they're being regulated. Vinyl used to be, well, there are movies saying it was cancer causing, right? So the vinyl on the sides of your house. But going inside, again, like if you open up sheets and they are polyester, like they might even smell, and that's like the chemicals. And
Okay.
and that is in a lot of like home decor. So again, if it smells bad, or if you smell anything. So really, veer to natural fiber. You can get organic cotton sheets. And then that goes with also your mattress. There are
Mhm.
a lot of like studies done, and you should kind of know what's in your mattress. And
Okay.
then, from a sleep, yeah, because I mean, I get, if something smells, that's if you're smelling a chemical, that would keep me up for sure. But mattresses, just knowing kind of what's in them, but from a sleep perspective, there are going to be so many comfortable options that are, that is, I wrote a blog post about where to spend and where to save, and it goes into detail about spending on your mattress and bedding.
Got it. I could definitely link that below. So yeah, I'll definitely link that.
Yeah, yeah, there's a
Great.
lot more there.
Great. And I think we're talking about nature a lot. I was curious about, I know a lot of people talk about like plants and kind of that type of thing and keeping that in the household for, various benefits. Do you use that for, I guess, your designs and, or for relaxation purposes?
Yes, absolutely. You should have a plant on your nightstand, and even if you have kids, your kids' nightstand. Every room should have a plant, but definitely, just check. Some plants need a certain direction light. So we learned this doing projects in the city that some very beautiful, expensive trees wouldn't last very long. And so we learned like what. So if you're north facing, just make sure that your sweet little plant can that's like what it needs so that it can live and thrive and grow.
Right.
Yeah. So there's that. And then also just having things like besides plants, like having things, if you love the beach, you should have some shells or coral that you found, there on the, just talking about bringing the outside in. Um,
Mm.
don't underestimate that. It's besides, it's quite beautiful. I know there are a lot of like crystal collectors that's
Yeah.
popular. People, I don't know if you've seen that. Like
Yeah, I have, yeah.
yeah, so for me, it's maybe one beautiful crystal and then a piece of coral, because those are also bringing harmony and and like tranquility, and that's pretty good to
Mhm.
have in your mind when you're going to sleep.
For
So
sure. So kind of just incorporating things that, kind of relax you or kind of keep you at bay in a sense.
yeah, just relax. Yeah, not the reverse of stimulate.
For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. And I guess my other question is, in your opinion, like what are your tips for creating, we talked about, kind of a beautiful sleep-friendly space, but like on a budget. I know a lot of things can be really expensive in this day and age. And which stores or brands do you often recommend to, your clients?
Sure. So as far as sorry, was that like stores to go to?
Or
Was that,
brands, or just like kind of what
oh yeah, yeah,
are
yeah.
for kind of creating like a sleep-friendly space on a budget in a sense.
Yeah, that's a great question. So what I say to kind of our younger clients, always CB2. It's the sister company of Crate and Barrel. And it's like really cool. And it's not inexpensive, but it's not as much as like a lot of the companies we use that come where the furniture is made in North Carolina. And it's a
Mm.
much higher price point. So CB2 that's in the city, West Elm, has some good pieces, but as far as so if I was just starting out, and again, I also like to design high-low with quality pieces. You can get so where you're going to want to spend for comfort, and I promise you'll sleep better, is you want to spend on that mattress, go test them out. That said, there was this kind of wonderful not rumor because it was true, but something kind of went around between a lot of designers. And that was kind of like a trade secret that IKEA has. I know some of their things don't hold up, but they actually have really good quality mattresses.
Mm, okay.
So, I know they're under $1,000. So that's a place you can save. You can find some, I'm sure IKEA has, those blackout shades. And it's really about high and low, so I'm not knocking IKEA for certain things. Target, I know, has been for many years, organic cotton sheets. And then for someone, just starting out or trying to save, more and more, I look at vintage and antiques to kind of incorporate those into design, because those are also going to be, they're going to be um, a lot of times solid wood. So, this earth element, they're not gonna be made cheaply. Um,
Mm,
and that's gonna, if you have, a vintage nightstand or two, that's gonna create this richness in your room. You don't want everything to be new. You want to kind of mix things and then add your collection of, shells or crystal, or plants, add
right.
that collection of your personal touch. But besides, the CB2s and the West Elms and IKEAs, I would absolutely encourage vintage, Etsy or estate sales.
Got it. Good to know. Very interesting and appreciate for all that information. My next question is kind of, jumping off that or kind of switching what we were talking about. In this day and age, it's a lot of tech, it's a tech-filled world. How do you incorporate modern conveniences into bedrooms without, disrupting sleep patterns?
So in 15 years, I've only been asked once to put a TV in a primary bedroom.
Wow.
So, um, so yeah, yeah, I was thinking about that one. Um, so that said, um, nightstands some people even do want the power in the actual piece of furniture, but absolutely, keep the electronics away, at the on, a side table, not certainly
Hmm.
not next to you. Um, but so that's like the kind of tech, like the stimulus. I always say, and I think my clients, we all work in our offices or home offices and kind of, leave it there. Um, but that said, in another, let's see, like a kind of another category, but for electronics, something that is very helpful that I did want to mention is going back to just sleeping better. And, this ties into the bedding is like thermostat and temperature.
Yeah.
So I have like a rule of thumb for bedding for different seasons, but also there's like smart thermostats. So that's where your technology in your room should be, not on, TV and electronics, but
Got
the
it.
thermostat that can read the room.
Mhm.
Because I know, if you're too hot or too cold, you'll wake up.
For sure. Okay, good to know. That's super interesting. You've only been asked once. I'm actually a little surprised. I thought it'd be more uh,
Right.
yeah.
I know. Yeah. No, I mean, no, that's and they like look at me and they're like, what do you think, Sarah Elizabeth? And I'm like, no, and I tell them I'm never asked.
Wow. That's
So yeah, it was just the one like a big businessman that just with it was working crazy hours he
Mhm.
wanted. But also, if you do want a TV, then absolutely hide it in an armoire,
Got it.
anything, it's all about hiding everything so it's out of your sight and mind, because that's something, one less thing to think about.
Right.
So to get your, calm and peace at night, everything put it away in your primary closet. So with a TV, you would just want to hide it in like the armoire, close it at
Got it.
least at night.
That makes sense. Yeah. And if you have, when working with clients who struggle with, maybe insomnia or restlessness or, kind of their, or even people who just are really light sleepers, which design elements that you've talked about or we haven't talked about yet, or priorities do you focus on the most?
Sure. Yeah, I was actually really thinking about this one and kind of, what we've done and that goes for myself included. And again, that yeah, for light sleepers or people that unfortunately have insomnia, it's, again, doing the check of like is black, have you eliminated all the light? There's even the smoke detector has a light.
Hmm.
And then getting, the side channels if you need. And then same thing with noise. And so why you want your bed on like a strategic, hopefully it's good for feng shui, but also, maybe away from if you are on a busy street, as far away as you can. Right. And then so rugs, just for going off on the tangent of noise, you want an area rug in your bedroom. So because that's grounding. So again, another kind of just another relaxing element. You usually want an area rug in each room. You don't want your feet when you get out of bed to touch, the wood floor or whatever whatever you have. So that's really important is the, area rug to really literally, figuratively ground the space. But so, that can be helpful. And then I would say for insomnia is just like being as comfortable as you
Mm,
can
right.
to kind of see if you can lull yourself back to sleep. And that would be with the bedding is just um so this is like kind of relevant for everybody with and without, sleep kind of challenges. Is that in the spring and summer you want lighter sheets or cotton sheets, but then you do not want your duvet. You want to put your duvet, your big, down or down alternative. You want to put that away, and you want to get a coverlet, or it kind of looks like a quilt, and it's just much lighter. And that might seem obvious, but it wasn't even for me.
Mm, right.
I wanted that duvet for kind of like this comfort and it's equivalent of like a teddy bear for adults. Yeah.
Right.
So in the spring, you want that later, that quilt, a coverlet, and then have a cotton throw at the end of your bed that you can, throw on or throw off in the night. Like that's really going to help because I think some people don't even know that they're really hot. Um,
Yeah.
or vice versa. And then in the winter, that's where you get your
Mhm.
duvet and you get your cashmere or wool throw that you can add. So I think those are really helpful. I also was just kind of thinking about just maximum comfort when you're in bed. Like, why not be as comfortable and like cocooned and relaxed as humanly possible? Like, there's no reason that you shouldn't be, right? And kind of if you can, have it a very luxurious space. And I was thinking that some people like a lot of pillows and they like to kind of even put pillows around them, right? For like kind of
Yeah.
so you could be a pillow or you could be the opposite and not. And so just, seeing like what you want and what you crave, right?
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I think we're running a little short on time, so I just had
Yeah.
one last question.
Yes.
Um, I was just curious if in interior design, like what trends, if any, do you think support wellness or have you seen recently that kind of support wellness and health?
Yeah, that's a great question. So biophilia is the use of plants in design. So plants in your interior. You see it more and more in commercial spaces because it cleans the air. So that one's really great. That's going strong. And then, and what I wanted to talk about, but it's perfect to come, in this with this question, it's minimalism. So
Mm,
just,
right.
yeah, just kind of having less in your room to just kind of create you can even reflect on other countries. In Japan, they have their bed and then a tansu, just so much less stuff. So
Yeah.
this like minimalism, modern, you could tie it to modern, just minimalism, decluttering, that's popular, right? And then earth tones as far as the color palette. I always say, think of Sedona, Arizona, that terracotta color, and then
Mm,
kind of that and lighter, so flesh tones. Those all bring a sense of relaxation. So,
wow. Yeah.
um,
That's amazing. Well, I think those are all the questions I had. There was a lot of information we talked about, and I'm sure the listeners are, learned just as much as I have, and they're just as grateful to have you on as I am. I'll make sure to link everything about you down below and everything we mentioned down below. And thank you so much for taking your time to come on here.
oh my gosh, thank you, Ryan. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
Of course, it was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into the REM Reward Podcast. Before you go, we'd appreciate your support by subscribing, liking, and leaving your thoughts in the comments. Stay tuned for our next podcast where we will be joined by a special guest speaker to explore even more about the fascinating world of sleep and psychology.